Well, welcome everybody. My name is Brian Kenner. I'm the Deputy Mayor for Planning and Economic Development in Washington, D.C. We are very delighted today to be able to be talking to Ted Leonsis, Chairman and CEO of Monumental Sports and Entertainment today. This is one of the first CEO interviews that the Washington, D.C. Economic Partnership is doing, and so we're really great to have you here today, Ted.
Thank you, and I feel I should be interviewing you, and your title serves you well, the work that you and our mayor and the city's doing to help uplift all the communities in the city through creating jobs and generating tax revenues to be commended.
Well, we thank you very much, Ted. I know that the mayor thinks very highly of you and all the things that you've done, not just recently, which we'll talk about a little bit, but really the history that you've had in this region. I mean, I think that you've been, arguably probably the most influential, or certainly one of the most influential people around Washington business for so many years, and you continue to sort of have that, which is maybe one of the lead-ins to sort of the first question. I mean, what sort of drives you? What are some of the passions that you sort of have?
Well, I grew up in an underprivileged community and household. My dad is an immigrant, and my mother didn't go to college. My dad didn't finish high school, and so I've been very, very fortunate. And DC is where I went to college at Georgetown, and a big driver for me is to leave more than I take, and to try and make opportunities in the community around me better than when I came. And it's a very simple notion to leave more than you take. And I'm just at that time in my life right now that's more important to me than accumulating assets or I just want to be focused on making Washington, D.C. and the DMV the greatest place to live in the world. The more talent that we can train and retain in this community, the better it'll be.
Well, I think that's coming from somebody like you who's seen sort of the evolution of not just the federal Washington, but really the private Washington, the Washington that may have a basis in the federal government, but now moved into so many things is really telling. Maybe taking a sort of a different tact. I know that today many people know you for Monumental Sports. Thank you very much for the Capitals, by the way. Thank you.
Thank you very much for the parade. Even though I had to pay more than I was expecting,
well,
it still was a fantastic.
It was a fantastic day.
Moment for the community.
Exactly right. So people know you a little bit, Monumental Sports. Talk to us about some of the other things that you're doing. I know that arena football and esports have been some things you've been talking about.
Well, but also we created Revolution and a series of funds, and most of those dollars, we have about $1.5 billion now under management, are being invested in DC, Virginia, and Maryland-based companies. Right next door is Optoro, a very, very important fast-growing company. Sweetgreen is a big investment of ours. Kava is a big investment of ours. I mean, the list goes. Custom Ink in Northern Virginia, and the whole idea here was, again, if we can find great entrepreneurs and back them locally, and their companies grow, they'll hire lots of people. Those people will get paid very well. If they build wealth, they'll be able to go out and buy homes. Then if they do really, really well, then they'll be able to have some extra dollars, and they'll give into philanthropies. They'll get active, and they'll be angel investors to start the next generation of companies. And so we're constantly looking at how can we keep a spiral going up. We're also very, very mindful that we have to do this kind of work and investment in context of being good citizens. And so, you look, we're here at Capital One Arena, and we're a union shop. We really, really want to take care of the 4,000 families that we touch full-time, part-time, and we become a big employer. And as you know, we pay high taxes here, which we're glad to do. We pay 10% on ticket tax. That was a great deal that you were able to create, because the better we do selling tickets, the better we do selling sponsorships, the more money goes into the city balance sheet. And right now, the city is probably the best managed, best economic shape of any city in the country, right? There's 4 major economic powers called super cities in our nation. It's LA, which goes from Newport Beach down to San Diego. There's Chicago, that goes like to Wisconsin all the way down. There's Greater New York, and then there's Greater Washington. Those are the 4 bellwether super cities in North America. There's 10 around the world. So we've established ourselves as one of the 10. I was in New York the last 2 days. It's amazing the amount of development. You can always tell the health of a community by how many cranes are in the sky. It's breathtaking. I saw that here when we in Events DC and the mayor's office, and frankly you, took the risk and had the gumption to go to St. Elizabeth's and build this new arena. And you know, I'd go visit it on a monthly basis as it was going up, and we were the only crane in the sky in Anacostia.
Yeah.
Okay, there's lots of cranes in Washington, D.C., but there was that one crane where you said, see, development is happening. And my hope and belief, and I know we're in total alignment, is that you building that building, as moving in, when we cut the ribbon and I said, this is a miracle. I said that intentionally, that for the city and a third party like Events DC and we as the business partner to tell the world this is what we're going to do, and we're going to get in on this day, and we delivered exactly on time. Nothing resonates more with business leaders than meeting a commitment. And so that we all got together and we were able to stand that up. We're playing G League games there. You know, the Wizards are practicing there every day. And my bet is now there's going to be a lot of development around the community.
We actually did a ribbon cutting yesterday, right across the street from the Entertainment Sports
Oh,
Center.
fantastic.
Our first apartment project. So
Well, there you go. And I'm looking forward to living long enough to see that community stand up.
Absolutely.
And just seeing the development of the community. But we have to be mindful of the people who live in that community. I think the mayor's done a fantastic job of tuning up the empathy, making sure that it's a big part of that community. I know every time I walk there, I'll get high-fived or hugs from people who are working there, who live in the community.
Walk there, that's right. They walk to
Or
work.
we have a player who went to high school there, and he says, I can't believe that I'm now can be a professional ball player in my hometown. I remember opening night, he said, is your family here? He said, half the building is my family here. So we're all trying to do the right things the right way. And you know, I think Anacostia in Ward 8, that's going to be the next community. And as I noted, they're the only community in the world that can say they're the hometown of an NBA, a WNBA, and a G League franchise.
Right. The entire country.
Right. So that's the kind of faith that we have in that community, and we've been welcomed there, and we're thrilled with the reception and how the community is developing, and all the people that we've met and we've hired, and I think it's going to be a great partnership.
I think that it already has been paying lots of dividends. So, you know, we the city very much appreciate that. You know, you talked a little bit about that sort of the long view about things, and I know that you all recently did an investment at Georgetown University. Could you tell us a little bit about that?
Literally, the first time I'd ever been to Washington, D.C. was the day I stepped foot on campus. I took a bus, Greyhound bus from Lowell, Massachusetts, got off at New York Avenue, right around the corner, took a taxi, and I went up M Street, and I went, oh my gosh, this is like the greatest place I've ever seen. And it was like love at first sight for me. And so I just felt that this place is deserving and should be a place where young people can come and then find their way to start their own businesses or work at great places and the like. And late this afternoon, I go to Georgetown University where we're doing Bark Tank.
Bark Tank.
My family is gifted on an annual basis to create young entrepreneurs. I mowed someone's lawn and it turned into something good. I'm hoping that we find the next Sweet Green. The founders of Sweet Green went to Georgetown, and we're giving money essentially, and I mean that, it's gifting. I'm not owning a piece of these companies. I'd like to do the same at Howard University. I've been talking to them about launching a program where we can help you to launch a business. I'll give you some angel funding, but it's not charity. We want to see that you've got what it takes to start a business, that you've taken risk, that you've been thoughtful on it, and we've been making some of those investments. 3 or 4 of these companies have already punched through, and they were able to raise real money now. And I came here in 1973. Wow. And my dad lived to be 95 years old. I'm hoping I have good genes. I can live a long, long time. And just to see how the city changed. When I went to Georgetown in the 70s, we were told, enjoy Georgetown, go see a couple of the monuments, but whatever you do, do not go down by 10th Street. Mm-hmm. Right across the street from Capital One Arena was drug dealing, prostitution. I think there were some adult bookstores here too. And now there's the Shakespeare Theater.
Yeah.
And so when you tell that to people who have just moved here, they think this is like a long-term, always here community, and it's really been birthed over the last 20 years or so. And so if we can have collectively, the city, businesses, some help from the federal government, which we hope to have a light touch, we can make this the shining example for the rest of the country on a city that works, a community that is proud of what's in, and that it entices young people to stay here. I think that's the key thing, that we have great school systems. We have to continue to invest in school systems, but we want all of the young people in Washington, D.C. to have an aspiration to go to a good college and then to come back home and work here and pay taxes here and have children here. We have a lot of first-generation families in Washington, D.C.
Yep.
I was first generation, obviously, and that want to come back. And they want their children to go to the school systems here. And that's another way that we'll power through a positive cycle for our community.
Gotcha. Some of the future things that you're thinking about, I know that esports and gaming has been something of interest for you.
Yeah, and people, I'm not a gamer and I'm not a gambler.
Okay.
But I do believe in the ultimate power of a digital world and X's and O's. And if you look at sports, the amount of data that we generate is much more than what we generate in business. So as I said, I was in New York the last couple of days down in the Wall Street area. I'm on the board of one of the great public companies in the world, and we have quarterly meetings, and we publish our information on a quarterly basis. And we have one annual meeting, and I always tell the chairman of American Express, I have an annual meeting like 100 nights a year, right? I hear from my shareholders every day, boo, oh, you're the greatest, right? In the last week, I was told, you're CEO of the year. You're doing a wonderful job. Thank you. We will be the keynote speakers at the Economic Development Center. And the same day that I got some of those emails, one member of the media said, you're the worst owner in the history of sports. You need to sell the team, right? So I go, well, that's, we have a general election on a daily basis.
Right.
And so I think that that esports is a global phenomenon. We are a global city. We should take advantage of that. I mean, we've at Monumental and my family, we are leaders in esports. We own or co-own one of the best franchises called Team Liquid. We've made investments in companies like Epic Games. A young man who grew up in Maryland, who's now in North Carolina, they created Fortnite. The gentleman who invented Oculus that got sold to Facebook, he went to University of Maryland. We have unbelievable talents and gifts in this community. All those people should have come back here and worked here. And the next generation, they certainly will.
Tell us, people probably are very interested, I know I'm very interested, how you sort of work and tick. Tell us a little bit about your day today.
Well, I got up at 5 o'clock. I did my email. I then jumped on the treadmill and did 5 miles. I'm down like 12.5-minute miles. I drink a lot of water. Unfortunately, I have to get back into a very mindful, healthy lifestyle if I want to live to be 100 and keep at it. And so I'll do that. And then on the way home, I have a call with the people on the West Coast on esports. And so I'll get home tonight probably about 8:30, so it's a long day. And I'm lucky that there's not a game tonight because I would have come back from Georgetown to go to a Caps or Wizards game. But I love it. It keeps me going. It keeps me young and relevant. And this, at the end of the day, is a big family enterprise. My son works here. My daughter's been very involved. My wife obviously loves coming to the games and what we're doing. And I couldn't be prouder and happier to have stumbled my way into Washington, D.C. And, I don't think that the mayor's office, Events D.C., frankly you, man, get enough credit for what the city is becoming. And we shouldn't screw it up. We have a lot of momentum. And if we're thoughtful and mindful and we get the collective experience and voices of this great diverse community that we're in, let's be competitive and let's make Washington, D.C. #1, the greatest community on earth. And we're already one of the top 4 in North America. You got to have goals. And if the Caps can win the Stanley Cup and have the parade, Washington, D.C. can be the best place to live and work in the world.
Ted, a great one to end on. Great to talk to you. Thank you very much.
Okay.
Thanks, everybody.